Hey, what's up guys? This is Brian at Whisper Status 74. Welcome to the community, welcome to the channel. If this is the first time you are seeing me, please consider liking and subscribing. We are real tech for real people. Today's video is actually going to be about bias, whether it's being biased with certain products, certain manufacturers, certain game systems, certain TVs. The last few videos have been on the upcoming Sony A90J Master Series. I did one video which I talked about release dates and kind of telling you that I'll be having hands-on time with those panels. And then the next video was actually a response to the previous video, because in the comments, many of you wanted to know if I would leave an LG 77-inch CX for the A90J Master Series. Now, the good thing about having a small channel is I'm very active in those comments. I read all of them. I respond to nearly all of them as well. So you can always engage me in the comments. But when I hear things like I'm biased towards one company or another, I do have to respond to that. But I think it's a good topic for a video, as one video talked about how excited I was for the A90J Master Series, and then the other one talked about why I'd hold on to my panel, which instantly made some people feel that I was in love with LG. Even though I have 900 plus videos and there's no I love LG videos in there. But this is a video to address bias, talk about it among YouTube and reviewers, as well as you guys in the community. I think it's an interesting topic for us to talk about. Alright guys, welcome to the channel, welcome to the community. If this is the first time you are seeing me, or if you've seen me in the last number of videos, or even the last few months, you might have the impression this is an OLED channel, an LG channel. Now, if you go back a few months, you might think it's a Sony channel, or even a TCL channel. Go back a year, you may have seen Vizio on here time and time again. I understand that people jump onto channels or see communities, one or two videos, and you kind of create an opinion of that channel and that community, which is totally understandable. What I'm here to tell you is I have no brand loyalty at all. Really don't. And I've learned that for myself over the years, not only in displays or in audio equipment, but mostly in video game consoles. Meaning you can be I'm very old. We can talk about Atari versus ColecoVision versus Intellivision versus Nintendo versus Sega versus TurboGrafx versus Dreamcast versus Nvidia versus AMD. Now, the reason I bring up those game consoles is I've loved one company for that generation and have favored that company due to how I feel or how I've enjoyed that company. Meaning for me, in the last number of years, I enjoyed a Sony 900E LED. That was my panel, my personal panel. But for me, recommending displays to you guys, I have recommended everything from Samsung to Sony to LG to TCL to Hisense. It really is whatever fits your needs. Now, what I want personally in my own home was an LG OLED since the C9. I ended up with an LG CX. Now, that would be my personal panel. There's a 55-inch LG behind you. I also have a 77-inch. I also have a TCL R635 and a Sony 900E. Now, when we talk about brand loyalty and bias, you have to be very careful. They're very similar things. So what I hear with the A90J is right off the bat, you know it's going to be better than LG's offerings. You know the new Samsung is going to be better than Sony's offerings. I don't know that. And to say that and to just throw that out there, now that might be your opinion, but it's just your opinion. And what I mean by that is to say it without seeing a panel is blind brand loyalty, if you follow me. When the PS5 and the Series X were launching, right off the bat, it wasn't just looking at specs, it was this one was better than that one. And I saw customer reviews on the PS5 and the Xbox Series X before they even launched. So, I am hopeful. I will always be cautious, but I will be ready to have my brand loyalty won for each panel and each manufacturer. For many years, I was a Samsung guy. Love Samsung panels. And what I did in the beginning of the 4K 2016, my first 4K panel, 2015, was a Sony. Or I'm sorry, it was a Samsung. LED edgelit. It did not fit my needs, as that was before a lot of pass-through was talked about. Didn't work with my equipment. I ended up going back to my Panasonic Plasma. Then in 2016, I gave Vizio a shot with 4 of their P-series, which I had issues with all of them. Then I jumped to Samsung, because Samsung is where my loyalty lied, and they were the sharper image, the better panels, the more much more expensive, and was let down by them. I gave them a shot through the KS9000, the KS9500, the KS9800. Tried some Sony. But the funny thing is, guys, back in the projection LCD days and in the CRT days, I had Sony Trinitrons. Now, back in that day, I don't know, in my early 20s, I'd like Sony. I'll stay with Sony. Sony's good. And then you kind of find yourself getting Sony DVD players, Sony this, Sony that. But that was when I was less knowledgeable, and back when we were doing a lot of magazine reviews, and I kind of stayed with a certain brand. That was 20 plus years ago. I am now in my 40s and am a little more educated in how these companies change, whether they have new ownership, new leadership, new shareholders, new direction, new manufacturing practices. All these have to be held into account. So when we talk about being a Samsung guy or a Sony guy or an LG guy or whatever it is, I am not that. And it's not because I have the channel and I'm trying to convince you that I'm not biased in my reviews or what I like and don't like. I don't trash anything. So some of you guys took that video on the Sony A90J and why I was sticking with the CX. Please go back and watch that video. It's previous to this one. It was more about the CX being more fully formed for gaming. But if you really listen in the video, it also talks about value. It talks about price. It talks about my personal usage, not my personal bias. What needs I have. The Sony doesn't quite fit those needs. It might also be double the cost. So if you listen to what I'm saying, I'm going through different steps to figure it out versus LG only, Sony only. If you want to know how I feel about the CX, watch my CX videos where I want to throw it out a window or snap it in half. I've had my challenges with it, and it's been worked out through firmware updates, but for my personal needs at this particular date, that's who I'm going to roll with. That's not biased. That is worked out through my usage, through my own experience, through my needs in my own home. That might not work for you. So when people ask me, what is the best panel out there? My question is always, or my response is always, what's the best panel for you and your usage? If you're talking to somebody, whether it's on YouTube or in forums, and every answer is the same. Oh, no, Samsung can't go wrong. Sony can't go wrong. LG can't go wrong. Then that person is biased towards that one model. There are people in the comments that I get along great with that every response is Sony or every response is Samsung. Now, where I found this out too is having a YouTube channel now for a few years. Having a Sony panel, there was obviously a large Sony community. And then the minute I considered another company, all of a sudden I was getting killed in my own community because all of a sudden I was a traitor to this brand. Now, the reason why I bring up consoles is I've been on the right side and the wrong side of predicting success in consoles. So let's go back to, for those of you that are not familiar with gaming, going back to consoles versus GPUs and CPUs. Let's just say in the very beginning, you're talking about Super Nintendo, Super Nintendo, back-to-back successes. Then you had Sega Master System, Sega Genesis, back-to-back successes. I also was guilty of the 32X and the Sega CD. And then where things got a little bit crazy for me is I took a chance on the NEC TurboGrafx 16. That was not a success. But I also took a chance on the Sony PlayStation back when, way before in the magazines, when it was a real risk. I got the Sega Saturn much later. I didn't just blindly go with Sega. I liked what I heard from Sony. I liked what I heard from TurboGrafx back then. It didn't work out. But I didn't go right with Sega just because they were Sega. I did the math, I figured it out, and with the TurboGrafx, obviously I was wrong. Still love that console, but it didn't succeed. And then I went with PlayStation, which obviously was a monster hit. Now, the Sega Saturn was not. it got followers and did much better years later. We all know how the Saturn turned out. But then the flip side to that is on 9/9/99 at launch, I had the Sega Dreamcast. I love that lineup. The Sega Dreamcast had Soul Calibur, which at the time was the very first game to look better than its arcade counterpart. Those of you that know gaming back then know what I mean, where arcade games could never come home intact. The Sega Dreamcast did not succeed, was beaten by the PlayStation 2. Now, when you end up having all these consoles and you eventually have them all, it neutralizes it. But my point being, you don't blindly go with each company. You don't blindly jump. I was a huge 360 fan. I was not a big Xbox One fan. Huge PlayStation 2 fan. Not a huge PlayStation 3 fan, if you remember it being $750 at launch with very few games. So here we are again with the PlayStation 5 and the Series X. It's debatable on which I like more, but I do have them both. I wanted them both. But if I had to choose one over the other, there's criteria that it has to meet. Now, that's not me just blindly buying the Xbox. Now, if you prefer Xbox and the games they have or PlayStation, that's really up to you. But it's being a little bit less flexible if you're open to all brands. Some of you are only Sony. Some of you are only Samsung. Now, for me, I've had terrible luck with Samsung in the last number of years. I have a Q900R here from Value Electronics. I have enjoyed making content on it, but me wanting to buy a Samsung for myself personally, I've had issues with the company in the last few years. I recommend them to you guys each and every day because I think that fits your needs. If I'm biased, I would tell you stay away from them. If I'm biased, I would tell you stay away from Sony. I wouldn't do a video on its release date or be super excited about it. So this isn't so much a response in whether I am biased or not. What it really is about is question yourself being biased. If you blindly follow a company, do you blindly go right with the same, let's say you like a certain brand car, do you immediately buy that next year without researching it? Now, if you do, then that's absolutely fine. I shouldn't say that you're blind doing that, but I have people that are doing that and will call me biased because I defended the CX when 5 videos ago I was killing them because they were changing the picture quality. Now, with the perfect example, Brass Tax and I were talking, those of you that know Brass has a channel, we were talking about the LG CX, we were talking about the Samsung mini LEDs, and also the new QNED line from LG. And should we look at that? Should we purchase that? Would you purchase that? The answer is absolutely not. Not because I won't buy it ever. It's just because my experience with LEDs from LG is not good. I was not a huge fan of their nano cell line. Now, they might knock it completely out of the park with the new QNED line, but that's going to be great. If they do, then I'll accept them. And it's not flip-flopping. It is, taking the information, processing it, and then saying, I'll go with that. Right? So for me, again, going back into Vizio. Vizio is a brand that I always championed. I love the direction they were going in. High peak brightness, a lot of local dimming zones, except I've had 5 of them fail. Now, I'll even say now in those videos, yes, I can still recommend them, but be cautious. I don't just blindly say, yeah, Vizio all day long, or say never buy them. So I do take responsibility for what I say in those comments, but be mindful of your own bias. You can be a Sony fan, but it's not like being a sports fan, right? You can be a sports fan and be loyal to that team if they stink or not. That's different. That is loyalty. That is brand loyalty. That is being a fan. I like all of this tech, right? So give you an example. Let's just say I have a Sony CX here. This is the 55-inch. Now, if I'm able to get an A90J brought in through Value Electronics, and I do have it here, if it beats it, I will tell you it beats it. I don't get insecure about my own technology. And that's another thing you have to be careful of. If I have an NVIDIA GPU and it gets beat by AMD, I mean, is that going to bother me? It's things that you maybe don't have the best thing right now, but in technology, you'll never have the best thing for very long. You have to be happy with what you have at the moment, but not be insecure about the technology you have and feel that you have to defend it in every comment. Now remember, I see all the comments, so I'll see people jump in every comment and tell me how much they love LED or hate OLED and love LED, and I just said the same thing twice. But they'll go into other people's comments on 10 other videos and tell them, hey, look, I'm not biased, but I hate OLED. I'm not biased, but I hate LED. You know, I'm not biased, but I hate Sony. If you watch that Sony video where I talked about staying with LG, listen to the methodology. Why? Value, size, the features I personally use. So that's always something that you should take into account when you're looking to purchase something, or if you're going to listen to me or other channels, other YouTube channels, whether they're small or large. And I think you shouldn't listen to one reviewer, be it the really large channels or ratings or digital trends, or smaller guys like me or the medium-sized guys. Take us all into account. Take everybody in, and then you can take the information. But don't listen to one person, whether it's me or somebody else, and then just say, oh, this guy said the LG is the best thing in the world. They're not perfect. There isn't a perfect panel out there. And I know many of you are really excited about the mini LEDs. You're really excited about the QNEDs, the Samsung OLEDs. Guys, they will all have some type of issues. There is no perfect panel, because there's no perfect manufacturing. I love PlayStation. There's a lot of issues with the controllers. I love Xbox. A lot of issues with no games. So they're not perfect. So keep that. And what I mean by that is keep an open mind. Be flexible. Don't be blind and just go with the next Sony. Clean your palette at the end of every generation and start new. Loved Xbox 360. I favored it in that generation. Did not go with the I had an Xbox One, but did not like that initially. Now it grew on me, but set yourself up. They have to earn your business, not the other way around. Let them earn it. Let them get your loyalty, but only keep that loyalty for that specific panel. Don't blindly buy a next one. So people will say to me, well, why don't you go with the C1? I don't know if the C1 is going to be better. It may be a step back. We've seen that with panels over the years, where one year this one is good, and the very next year it's not as bright, it's not this, it's not that. They lose features. I'm not going to blindly stay with LG. I have the CX is what the conversation was. Now, if the conversation with LG was, I'm going to favor the G1 Evo over the new versions of Sony, I haven't seen the G1 yet. I don't know if it's better. Do you follow me? I know what I have here. But when people say that this TV is awesome and it's already better than this, it's not even released yet. So keep an open mind, be flexible, because I'm not going to get angry in the comments. If you do call me biased, we are going to have a conversation, just a conversation and a discussion. And this is not a negative video. But when you're saying that someone else is biased, listen to your own comment. When out of a 30-minute or 20-minute video, you took 2 minutes out of it, and then you captured that in your mind and said, oh, this guy hates Sony. Watch that Sony video. Watch the first two. I've always championed them. I've always liked them. I have my issues with them, just like I have my issues with LG. So I have my issues with TCL, all of them. Now, to say you have your issues doesn't mean you're a negative person. It just means your eyes are open. And that's all I ask you to do, is have an open mind, keep your eyes open, and judge for yourself. But to blindly say this is better than that, even before it's released, is a little bit biased in itself. And that's why I use that video game analogy. You can't say that Nintendo has been the best company since it released. It's had its missteps. So has Sony. So has Microsoft. So has Sega. Now, there's been times where they have been the best, but it's the best for you. So when you're going in the comments and you're deciding to attack other people or attack me about being biased, read your own comment. Read why you think that video triggered you to feel that way. because you clearly only heard one little excerpt of my very long videos. So guys, keep an open mind. Listen to all reviewers. Don't listen to just one. Listen to yourself. Think about what you really want. But if you find yourself being biased, if you find yourself telling me that this is perfect or that is perfect, it's not possible. It might be perfect for you, but don't push that on other people. All right, guys. Hope you're all doing well. We're doing more videos like this. They're more discussion-based versus just comparisons. We'll get back to that in gameplay. But this video is, or this channel is, a discussion-based channel. If there's something you want me to cover in the comments, throw some ideas at me. You're also going to see me collaborating with other channels, and we'll be doing much more. But this is what the channel is at heart, is all of us engaging, me engaging in the comments. We'll be doing live streams as well. I hope you are all doing well. I am looking forward to all the new panels. I wouldn't blindly just start purchasing them, especially first generation brighter panel, first generation mini LED, first generation. I'm just cautious, not biased. All right, guys, I will talk to you in the comments. Thank you as always. Take care.